Hold here.
They are killers of Tulkun.
They must die.
Here. Today.
It's me that they want. That's what all this has been about, right? The hunting of our Tulkun, the taking of our kids.
You brought this upon us! You!
But then it's me that has to do this.
We interrupt this program to bring you...
All right, everybody. My name is Kevin.
My name is Adam.
And I'm Julie.
And we are the Real Movie Guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Real Review, the series where we review and discuss all your favorite movies. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Avatar, The Way of Water, directed by James Cameron, starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, and Sigourney Weaver. Jake Sully lives in this newfound family formed on the extrasolar moon Pandora. Once a family threat returns to finish what was previously started, Jake must work with the Neytiri and the army of Na'vi to race to protect their home. Okay, guys, I have a love-hate relationship with Avatar, significantly. I think most people can agree with this. It is probably the most beautiful movie ever made, and we're just talking about the first one. The second one is definitely in that realm for sure. It's by far, again, it's an incredible achievement. I don't think anyone could take that away from the movie. It's by far, it's amazing. It feels like it's there, right? I think we can all agree on that. The story is where I've had the problem since Avatar 1. And God damn it traveled into Avatar Way of Water because I didn't really have a good time. I mean, again, I understand it. I love what's going on here. I love what I'm looking at, but I'm really just not enjoying the substance of the story here. I don't know if it's just not for me. Maybe I'm missing something, but I want to talk to you guys before we get into the nitty gritty. Adam, talk to me about Avatar, The Way of Water a little bit.
I don't know. It happened again with the sequel here, and it just seems like the movie they just exist for me.
Right.
Like, they don't really do much for me. They just kind of are there.
Right.
And they're just like this visual, treat that just kind of, visually is pleasing to the eye. But, I mean, beyond that, it's just kind of like, oh, there's Avatar again.
I know, and I feel like we shouldn't be feeling that way about this movie. At least, as far as like things that come out, it's astounding what they've done, what they've achieved.
I feel like a lot of people are, they like these movies, and I guess, to a certain extent, I get it, but like,
right,
I do not personally get it.
I don't get it. I mean, again, maybe it's just the visuals, I don't know, and I'm sure that's something we're going to talk about. So, okay, Julie, how about you? What'd you think?
It was fine. I mean, elephant in the room is that the visuals are amazing. Like, that's just beyond the point. Do I want to sit through over 3 hours of amazing visuals? No, because at the end of the day, the substance isn't there. I can't figure out what story that this is probably borrowed from, where the first one was, pretty much cut and paste of Pocahontas. This one, I'm sure he ripped off another story. But it's just fine. I mean, I rode that original Avatar hype when it came out. Like, oh my gosh, it's such a great movie. Watched it again. It's fine.
Yeah,
and that's how I feel about this one. It's fine. Do I want to? Yeah. Would I watch it again at over 3 hours? No.
No, no way in hell would I watch this again. But besides that being the point, the first Avatar was definitely an experience, I think, for a lot of people who saw it in theaters. That 3D experience is unlike any other. I mean, you can really attribute Avatar, the first film, actually creating the fad we know as 3D. That was such a long thing, and it feels like it's waned off quite a bit now at this point. Even this film was extremely popular in 3D in the theater. A lot of people were going out to see it, and a lot of people were enjoying it. Once you take that gimmick away from it, I feel like there's an interesting movie here. I mean, I hate to say like it's not that great because I understand what James Cameron's trying to do. The first Avatar is literally Pocahontas. You can't convince me any other which way. It's literally verbeat Pocahontas. There's even like memes of it online where they take out the names like John Smith and put Jake Sully in as the name of the character and Neytiri instead of Pocahontas. It's identical. And that's not the first time we've seen movies do that. I think we've said even multiple times here on the channel, not everything's going to be original, right? You're going to have some things that are inspired. It's what you do with that material and how you transform it is what's interesting. James Cameron, I just feel like, and especially in this movie too, he has like these great ideas and these great images of set pieces that he wants to do. It's just, I feel like there's just nothing for me to connect to the story. And this movie, even just right away, I felt myself just not being able to connect with the characters returning. Jake Sully is really just about him and his family and their journey. And I think that's what James Cameron's trying to tell as far as the story. Even like the first like little weird thing that threw me off is like the narration where Jake's talking about how he's like assimilating into the Avatar, the Na'vi race, and he's like talking about in their local tongue, and then suddenly it transforms into English out of nowhere, and they start talking normal. I'm like, all right, that's kind of weird.
Yeah,
I understand for the convenience, but it's still kind of weird.
Yeah, that throwaway line of like, oh yeah, like I pretty much just hear it as English in my head now, and then you're like, okay, that's it, we're done.
And I don't know about you guys, Adam, but would you consider that like lazy writing? To me, it just kind of feels like I got to explain this really quick. Like here's something for you.
I honestly, I would have been fine if it was like more subtitled.
Yeah,
like give me the actual language, because I think that's way cooler than.
It's more engrossing.
I don't know. That's more. Yeah, it's more immersion than that. What I was looking for.
Right.
And not only that, oh yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Not only that, like even just the way the characters communicate, like Jake, you understand like him communicating the way we do. Like he was born on Earth, that's how he grew up. But like his kids, like Jake's the minority in my like he's a human that became a Na'vi, whatever.
Right.
But his kids talk like American teenagers, like, oh bro, haha. And it's like, no, nobody else around you except for your father talks like that. So why are you talking? That just bothered me so much. Like I would have liked, again, I agree, more subtitles I think would have been even better. But if you're not going to do the subtitles, at least kind of talk the way Na'vi talk. Like, because Neytiri, she speaks in a certain like dialect, certain speech pattern, and that's not evident in pretty much any other character.
Right, and I think there's a lot of irony too with this movie, and a lot of my issues really are like the beginning of this movie. Once we get towards the end, I think it kind of finds what it wants to do as far as like an action movie, and I think that's actually really where this movie's more interesting. But the beginning, there's so much information I feel like he has to get across to us that within the first like 30 minutes there's like info dumps of like, hey, this is where we've all been, this is where Sigourney's Weaver character Na'vi was like the Virgin Mary and gave birth to a duplicate of her, which is incredibly creepy, by the way. I don't know how you guys felt about that, but Sigourney Weaver in a little girl's body, just that wasn't doing it for me. I don't know, that was a little strange. Then we have the Spider who's left behind, who ends up being the son of the villain of Stephen Lang's Quarterich, whatever his name is, the main guy. His son is like left behind, which is such a weird, obnoxious like tie into this whole plot. I didn't really care for the whole spider thing, which was, I guess he's supposed to be like the Tarzan, like assimilating in the jungle with the Na'vi. A lot of things. Again, James Cameron has a lot of ideas in this movie, and I feel like just none of them really stick. And the problem is too, not even that they don't stick, this movie's 3 hours and 12 minutes long. Like, god damn it, it's trying so hard to justify its runtime, and it doesn't. I mean, there's no point where I sat down and said, you know what, I got to this scene and that was amazing. Whether it was like the beautiful underwater scenes, which again, they're absolutely beautiful, like the sea creatures. His son has like a special connection with a sea animal, which feels like a Free Willy side story we suddenly got in this movie. Then we have literally like by the end we have like a Titanic, like literally a ship is sinking and they're upside down like they're in the Titanic. I hate to say it, but it's also like James Cameron's greatest hits. That's what it feels like. These are things I've seen him do before with regular technology. Now he has this spread technology at his fingertips and he's not afraid to do whatever he wants. What about you, Adam? Do you think anything justifies this movie's like runtime existence, or I just had a hard time?
I mean, I would have totally been okay if they wanted to shave down some of that information dump at the beginning. Maybe, honestly, a half hour would have been perfectly fine. I think it would have been more palpable if it was 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I think so too. What about the family? Did you feel it? Because I also had a disconnect from like most of the children, because I guess this is supposed to be Jake Sully and his family. Did you really feel like what he was trying to say is this was supposed to be about relationships and the bonds between family, and it felt overwrought and cliche throughout the whole thing.
They just throw it on you. It just gets thrown like, bam, here you go. Here's what's happening with this. Here's your life update on this family. And I'm
right.
like, I don't care about them yet. Like, you can't just do that.
No, and then even as the story goes and some of the events that happen to certain family members as the movie goes, I don't think I cared.
Yeah,
really,
no, it was
like, oh, here's the one brother who's like the good brother who always listens to his father. And then there's the trouble brother who's always rebellious against his father, and the daughter who's just there. I don't know why that's a thing. That's a little sexist if you ask me. The daughter that's just there. And then again, the Virgin Mary subplot who's going to save the world because she's a clone of her dead mom Navi thing. It's just too much. It's just way too much. And don't get me started on the villain. I hate to be the one talking here, but the villain was by far the most stupidest thing. So I guess this is light spoilers. I'm sorry in advance. I didn't know this was what the plot was about, but Stephen Lang's character actually survived. Well, he died at the end of the last Avatar. Korwich died, and his consciousness was transferred to a Na'vi host body. But it's not really his consciousness. It's like a backup file. So it's like his computer like backed up all his memories, and they had that saved in like a big spaceship in the sky, and they backed it up and said, hey, you got to go finish the mission. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go finish the mission and get revenge. And, you know, I thought the original mission of the first Avatar was to get the unobtainium, which that still bothers me. That's what it's called. This was
the name.
Something like, yeah, like really, you couldn't try a little harder. Yeah. So his whole plot in the first one is to get the unobtainium, kill all the Na'vi, and, you know, oh my God, save the rainforest. That was the first plot of the first movie. So I thought, okay, you know, he's gonna finish that's his mission, right? Like you would think, okay, he's gonna go in there, wipe out all the Na'vi. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to go kill Jake Sully. And it's literally just him chasing Jake Sully throughout the whole movie. And the worst part is he starts that like journey and then it stops. Like literally they don't talk about it for like an hour. And then suddenly he's like, oh yeah, I'm still here. Oh, Jake Sully. Oh, I hate you.
So
Nothing
stupid.
for me, guys. Adam, anything? You got anything for that? That bothered the hell out of me.
If anything, this concerns me for future films in
Right.
this series because, like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was so much information that he could have done with just, you know, a few things, and there's so many things he could have expanded upon in this movie and could have left some things for the future films. But like, if all of this happened in one film, who's to say, you know, what's going to happen in those? What is it? 3 more, I think, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 2 or 3 more at least, easily, from what I remember reading.
Yeah, it's just concerning.
I feel like if they wanted to bring him back, I feel like they shouldn't have brought him back in this movie. I feel like if they could have waited till the end. I would have preferred them maybe to just continue to fight the military because they're still there. They just want to, at this point, they want to take over Pandora to make like a new Earth, right? Because Earth is going to shit.
But see, that's not even clearly stated either, because then they're like, oh, we chased them all off the planet, so they all had to go all back to their planets. That's why Spider got left behind. But clearly there's still people there, so they didn't chase everybody off. Like,
I feel like that would have been a better cliffhanger because, like Adam said, it's a little concerning to think of where are they going to go from here because, spoiler alert, what's his face, the military guy survives.
Right.
Yeah, and so he's still going to be around causing trouble for Jake Sully. Is that just what it's going to be for the rest of this? Like, oh, Jake Sully, I'm going to get you for 2 more movies.
I guess, and I mean, you know what? And I'll give you this. You know, I think that's probably the more interesting story here to some extent. That personal, like if you made that vendetta the whole crux of this series, like that personal rivalry between the two, like he betrayed him and now he's going after him, and now maybe he's having like a change of character because his son's there. Like there's things you could have done. The problem is James Cameron just can't pick a lane and stay in it. He wants to have all these other big Odyssey like storytelling going on, and it's too much. It's too bloated, and it makes the movie boring and uninteresting.
Yes.
And I hate to be negative because I think there are some things that are actually positive. The visuals, like we said, I think they are second to none. Watch this in 4K Ultra HD on an OLED. Wow, it was something. It really is something to behold at times. You can't really tell the difference between CGI and, you know, what you're looking at on the screen. Sometimes you can. I think with more of the character models, maybe just because I'm more keen to it now, I was able to notice it, but not often, I would say. Definitely not often. You really don't get that uncanny valley feeling or anything like that when you're watching this. The real visual, I think, here, and I think this seems to be the theme with what he's filming, is this was like very focused on the underwater scenes. I think that's really what James Cameron wanted to bring to the forefront of this film, and they're done beautifully. I mean, they are incredible. Seeing the Na'vi swim underwater, rising in and out of the water, just all their interactions. I know for the future films, I think he has different areas kind of like planned out, like different Na'vi races. Like there's going to be one that's in like the volcanoes or the Ashen people. So I guess that's what he's trying to go for. A very eco-centric kind of storytelling. Again, save the trees and all that, which, hey, you got to do what you got to do. The score is also fantastic in this movie. I did really enjoy like a lot of the musical cues. I thought were very well done, which should be no surprise. James Cameron knows what he's doing when he's picking out a score to be used in a film. And then, like I said, I think most people will be lost in the first 2 hours of this movie. I think it's going to lose most audiences. Would you guys agree with that? At least at that, if you make it 2 hours, would you say that that's about accurate?
Yeah, that was my struggle, where I feel like by the time the climax finally did come, I was so checked out and, fighting consciousness at points, because it's a huge time commitment. And if you're not keeping your audience fully engaged that entire time, like, is your climax going to be worth it then?
Right. And I don't know if I would say it's worth it, but I would say it's very action heavy. Adam, what did you think of the climax of the film as far as some of the action scenes and stuff that we saw? Because I did think it was actually really cool, especially some of like the hand-to-hand stuff and the tension a little bit.
I wanted more of that. Give me more of that. I would have totally taken more of that, because that was arguably one of the more entertaining parts of it. I think there could have been, if there was more of a mix between, set up some of the other creatures in the land, and have some smaller conflicts that eventually will grow into bigger ones into other films or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been way more entertaining than what we got, I think.
It's funny. This movie reminded me a lot of Black Panther's sequel, Wakanda Forever, at the end, where they kind of brought everybody together and they said, "Oh, we're gonna go attack the military," and and head them off. It felt very similar in that big, like, giant action scene kind of way. And I'm just not really into those kind of scenes anymore, especially with this type of film. Again, because the sci-fi elements are very strong. There's no doubt James Cameron knows sci-fi and understands the world he's creating. I just don't think he's found a way to communicate it in an interesting way besides some visuals, but the visuals don't really assist your story. So I feel like there's just a really big disconnect. And I think really with that, we're really ready to give our final scores. I'm going to give Avatar: The Way of Water a 6.5 out of 10.
Please, Mama.
You're not leaving, are you, Jake?
It's okay.
Knowing I'm out there, knowing that I'll never stop, I'm coming for you. When I do, I'll kill your whole family.
Dad!
Then let's get it done.
I really didn't enjoy this movie. I don't think it's terrible, and that's why I have to give it some points definitely for the visuals. It is a nice showcase. If you have a really nice like theater system and you want to show something off, you could do a lot worse with Avatar: The Way of Water. This movie's going to have its fans, and I respect that. Hey, if you really like this is your thing. I don't get it, but hey, there's things I like people don't get either. There is some action there. If you can get through the first 2 hours, you'll be rewarded with something that's kind of interesting. Again, the boat scene at the end is very cool. It's very tense. It's just the problem with this, and again, the first Avatar too, is just the writing doesn't match the visuals. It's just so weak and uninteresting at times, to the point where I think I had to pause it a few times in between just to get through it. It's a long struggle. Maybe like a shorter version would be a little more interesting to some extent. Usually we want longer movies, but not with this case. I could definitely do with something shorter. But Way of Water, again, if you like James Cameron, you like the Avatar series, check it out. Otherwise, I probably think you should stay away from it. Adam, what do you think of this one?
I think you hit the nail on the head with the 6.5, and that's why I'm going to give Avatar: The Way of Water 6.5 as well.
It's you and me, Cupcake.
Did I mention you're supposed to tie the mouth shut first?
Thanks a lot, kid!
I guess I had higher hopes for it going into it. I just wanted maybe some more world building, some accentuating on a little bit more of the wildlife and the creatures, something like that, set up for the other, future films. Because as of right now, the future does not look very bright, at least from my eyes.
No, I could agree with you. Again, they have all this time. They had all the time in the world to make this movie, and they
10
just
years.
couldn't. And not even that. And then the story had 3 hours and 12 minutes to go, and couldn't convince that much across to it. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Julie, how about you? What do you think on this one?
I'm going to give Avatar: The Way of Water 6.3 out of 10. The only standouts for me really is the visuals. I like the anatomy of the other, races of Na'vi, like showing, that they have the flippers and all, other anatomical features to help them in water. Other than that, was not engaged fully in this movie. It was too long. I didn't care about any of the characters at all. So if you don't have an emotional connection to your character, there's no investment for you as a viewer, because I personally couldn't care if anyone lived or died by the end of this movie.
And that sucks, because I think James Cameron really wants Jake Sully to be the next John Connor of movies, and this big cinematic character. And Jake Sully's really bland, man. He's really boring, and doesn't really do much for me as far as his story. I want to like it. Again, I really did want to like this movie. Kind of like what Adam said, I had some kind of expectations. I'm all right, this is a chance to go in and fix the problems I had with the first Avatar. Really, he just did more of the same. And, maybe there's some grand vision we're not seeing. Got a couple more movies to figure it out. So, time will tell, guys. Time will tell. But anyway, thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin. That guy's Adam. That's Julie. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. We'll see you next time.
If you guys like what you've seen here today, consider giving this video a like and leaving your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay up to date with everything Real Movie Guys related, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget, all you audio listeners at home, we are available on many podcasting platforms. Just search The Real Movie Guys, you should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us on this episode of The Real Review. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Catch you next time.